The meeting to order. Start by saluting our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Conway?
Here.
Mr. Gignac?
Here.
Mr. Leary?
Here.
Ms. Martin?
Here.
Mayor Murphy?
Here.
Ms. Rostikowicz?
Here.
Ms. Scott?
Here.
7 present.
Moving on to special order of business. Recognize Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Mayor Murphy. Tonight, our Spotlight on Excellence is featuring the wonderful academically able and athletically able youth of Lowell High School. Tonight, we have many thanks to give to coaches and parents, and especially our students who every day balance what it takes to make the best outcomes academically and to hit the fields and do their best job athletically. And so I'm going to introduce Athletic Director Jimmy DeProfio, who will in fact introduce the different honorees. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the committee, Superintendent Franco, and Central Administration. Mr. Mayor, thank you very much for your gracious invitation this evening to have us at the meeting. This evening, I'll be able to highlight many of our excellent achievements over the course of the fall season. These achievements were not the act of one, though, but the actions of many. And I want to thank Superintendent Franco and the Central Administration for their support, the Lowell School Committee for their support of athletic programs, and Headmaster Rose Merrick for his unwavering support of things that we do that are great for kids. These would not be possible without the support that all of you provide us, and we sincerely appreciate it. The mission of Lowell High School is a commitment to excellence in everything we do, academics, activities, and citizenship. And that was truly lived by our students, coaches, advisors, parents, and community this fall. Some academic achievements from this past fall. Brandon Fahlberg of the boys soccer team was named the MIAA Nesson Student Athlete of the Month for October for the entire state, all student athletes who were nominated. Leah Moynihan, Mary Fowler, and Katie Gilligan were nominated for MIAA Nesson Student Athlete of the Month for the month of November. Brianna Allison of the girls cross country team was named to the Massachusetts State Track Coaches Association All-Academic State Cross Country Team, one of only 9 women runners in the state. You had to have a GPA of over 3.25 and have competed in the all-state meet. In terms of team academic awards, we measure as a team. I look at the GPA of all team members, freshman, JV, or varsity, and we come up with a team GPA. We measure it at 2 levels through the MIA and also recognize the crew program and the cheerleading program through their association. Teams earning silver level distinction. This was a team GPA of 2.50 to 2.99 on a 4.0 scale. Our boys JV soccer team, our girls varsity volleyball team, our cheerleading team, and our varsity football team. At the gold level team GPA, which is a team GPA of 3.0 to 4.0 on a 4.0 scale, the field hockey team, varsity and JV, the crew teams, varsity and novice, the golf team, the boys varsity soccer team, the girls varsity and JV soccer teams, the boys cross country team, the girls cross country team, the girls swim and dive team, and the girls JV volleyball team. If you combine the GPAs of our 11 varsity athletic programs on a scale of 4.0, our team GPA this fall was 3.25, a gold level achievement from all of our teams. In terms of activities, our cheerleading squad, coached by John Beaton, qualified for the MSSAA State Championships, one of the top 5 teams in the state. Our boys cross country team, coached by head coach Phil Meyer, the Merrimack Valley Conference Coach of the Year, were undefeated in dual meets. They were the Merrimack Valley Conference meet champions. They finished second in Eastern Massachusetts. They finished second at the MIAA All-State Cross Country Championships. Our girls cross country team, coached by Mary Beth McKenney, were second in Eastern Mass Division I, the best finish in the program's history. They were top 10 in the MIAA All-State Cross Country Championships. The field hockey team qualified for the MIAA State Tournament, and our head coach, Lisa Cater, was a nominee for the MIAA Distinguished Service Award for Girls and Women in Sports. In football, head coach John Florence had a great season, and R.J. Noel was named Merrimack Valley Conference Offensive Most Valuable Player. Our golf team qualified for the MIAA State Tournament under head coach Dick O'Loughlin. Our boys soccer team, under head coach Bill Betancourt, who was named Merrimack Valley Conference Coach of the Year, won the MVC Championship, and Guy Rodriguez was named the Merrimack Valley Conference Player of the Year in boys soccer. Our girls swimming and diving team, under head coach Kristen Monahan, qualified swimmers and divers for the MIAA State Championship meet. Several girls placed in that meet, and Leah Moynihan was named the Merrimack Valley Conference Division II Swimmer of the Year. In terms of citizenship, 2 students, Rachel Silk of the girls soccer team in the fall and Hannah Woodworth of the girls volleyball team, wrote essays that were published in the MIAA yearly book called How Can Student Athletes Make a Difference in the Community? Each wrote about community service and athletics. Hannah was a finalist statewide. Our cheerleading team earned the Gerald Silverman MSSAA Team Sportsmanship Award. This is voted on by the coaches of all the other teams at the state championship. Our girls volleyball team earned the Sam Colangelo Team Sportsmanship Award. This award is voted on by the officials and coaches of all the other Merrimack Valley Conference schools, and they felt that our team showed the best sportsmanship over the course of the year. Lowell High School as a school received the 2011 MIAA District Sportsmanship Award for District A at the 18th Annual MIAA Sportsmanship Summit held at Gillette Stadium. The awards are presented to one school in each of the athletic districts as chosen by the athletic directors from the other member schools. So these are schools that you compete against who will select the Sportsmanship Award. Our girls soccer team conducted a fundraiser to benefit the fight against breast cancer. The student athletes, coaches, and friends of Lowell High School Soccer Committee arranged for pink t-shirts. I think we have some kids in. Are you guys up there in pink shirts? There we go. They arranged for pink shirts to play in and also to be sold as a fundraiser. The girls pinked out Colley Stadium. It looked great. One of the nicest things I've ever seen happen at the stadium. And they collected donations. Over the course of the fall, the work of the students, parents, and coaches earned $900 towards fighting breast cancer under the direction of head coach Katie Angis. And finally, I'd like to talk about all of us working together. Red Raiders, as you can see on their own, could do miraculous things. They're just the best. But when you put them together and give them a special task, they really shine. Our ROTC drill teams, the Lowell High School marching band and flags, cheerleaders, field hockey seniors, football seniors, boys and girls soccer seniors and captains, and the girls volleyball seniors visited the Bailey and Riley elementary schools to show their skills and to visit with the students who had achieved excellence in conduct or academics. The 2 greatest things about that, when the kids come in, it's really like Christmas morning. It's like rock stars coming. The younger students get so excited about it. But the message that our kids deliver, just sitting with kids, talking with them, having a good time, giving some short addresses about how important it is to try hard, have good sportsmanship, listen to your parents, do the best you can in school. And what great role models for a 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old to look at a 16 or 17-year-old and know they're living it. They're really doing what they say that they do. The other great thing about it is that we get to share each other's talents. Lowell High School is a big school. And in a big school, there's opportunity for everyone. And so we look at it as one school, but with many talents that achieve excellence in all different areas. And so it's our chance to be together and appreciate each other's skill and dedication. So that's our report for the Spotlight of Excellence from the fall at Lowell High School. Thank you very much. We appreciate you having us here.
Thank you, Mr. DeProfio, and of course, all the coaches, and congratulations to all the student athletes. Moving on with the agenda, we have minutes, the regularly scheduled minutes of the meeting of Wednesday, December 21st, 2011.
Move to approve, Mr. Mayor.
Motion to approve by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Conway. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. So voted. Moving on to permission to enter. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Mayor Murphy. To the Devereaux School, LLC, for $27,962 to provide for the out-of-district tuition costs for one student enrolled in receiving services as outlined in their special education IEP. Funding will be provided by the school department budget, special education tuition account. To the town of Methuen, for $15,000 to amend the existing contract to provide for the out-of-district tuition for one plus one additional student enrolled in receiving services as aligned in their special education IEP. Funding will be provided by the school department budget, special education account. To Middlesex Community College for $20,000 to amend the existing contract to pay tuition for qualified students from Lowell High School who will earn both high school and college credits by taking courses at Middlesex Community College in the dual enrollment program. Funding will be provided by the Race to the Top grant.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Motion to approve by Mr. Leary, seconded by Mr. Gignac. All in favor? We'll actually take a roll call on that, please.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Ross-Sikowicz?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Thank you. Moving on to... Moving on to memorials for moment of silence in darkened chambers for Patty Farrell Robson, former Lowell school teacher, and sister of Mary Jo Farrell Shribman, a teacher at the Shaughnessy School. So we'll please rise for a moment of silence in darkened chambers. Thank you. Moving on to unfinished business, seeing none, we'll move to public participation, although we have none there either. So moving to the motions section of the agenda, we have a motion by Mr. Leary. Request the superintendent prepare a report outlining the steps and action plans that will be necessary to prepare for the next accreditation of Lowell High School. The report should include a review of the areas of the Lowell High School physical plant that require improvement or modification, including the science classroom, laboratory space, as well as a review of the academic department offerings and any identified deficiencies that should be considered during upcoming budget deliberations. Mr. Leary.
Yes.
We need a second. Seconded by Mr. Gignac.
Thank you, Mayor. Just quickly, accreditation will be coming up in about 2 years. I know the high school staff is well versed in it, as well as our central administration. The issue that's, I think, is somewhat of a challenge is some of the physical issues that we have at the high school that, the city deals with and that our folks within the high school deal with. With the budget cuts that we've had, I know we're going to be having discussions regarding position replacement in order to achieve accreditation, but the physical structure of the building, we need to start planning right now. What I did is particular emphasis was the science classrooms. I was back in Western Mass for Christmas time and noticed that the high school that I went to is actually looking to the school building authority to add a new building. I think the value was between $6 and $8 million in regards to updating their laboratory, their science labs. I'm not seeing that we would be doing something like that, but if there's any school building authority to ensure that, for example, science labs are achieved, that we get in part of that and get in line with it. I know our staff is pretty well versed to do it, and I know the community will pull together in an effort to once again achieve accreditation. Thank you.
Mr. Conway.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think just very briefly, I want to thank Mr. Leary for this motion. I think it's very timely. And again, even though they're coming in 2014, it's a massive process. It takes the work of a number of different people to put this together. And I know that I believe that they have the self-studies will be starting in the summertime, at the end of the summer, and starting right in September. Now, a question I do have of the superintendent is, I think the last accreditation, there were approximately 80 to 90 recommendations for us, and as we know that it takes, I believe we're allowed 5 years to rectify those problems or areas of concern, and I'm just wondering if we have a list of what we have not accomplished within that 5 years. It's my understanding that everything has been accomplished except for recommendations that were tied to a financial situation. Like, for example, I think one of the recommendations were additional administrators at the high school. And at that particular time, we couldn't afford it. But again, that was a recommendation. So I'm wondering if you could supply a list of the recommendations that we were not able to fulfill through the last accreditation.
Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Mayor Murphy. Yes, Mr. Leary's motion is very well timed. We'll go back and look at those recommendations. Every single year, you give a review. Whenever we've cut budget and services have been changed in some way, shape, or form, you have to provide a report to the NEAS group to make sure that they know that, due to regular budget problems, then things have changed. So there's an upgraded report every time, but the first review in the beginning of the self-study is going back to see what was accomplished, what wasn't accomplished, and why. So as the maker of the motion states right here, to go back to that report, look at what we need to look at, and I think it should be one of the first agenda items on the first Lowell High Subcommittee meeting, because it's really the review. Self-study curriculum-wise, we're beginning that in very small ways, but that's something we can look at, because those are the ones that they really, it's the physical ones that are the most costly and most time-consuming for us.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. So voted. Moving on, we have no subcommittee reports today, so we'll move on to the reports of the superintendent. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, the first report is a request for the committee to change funding from the local professional development fund to Lowell High School, for us to use it for tutoring services and open the library in the morning. It came to my attention just a few days before vacation that the Shannon grant, which we've had for the past maybe 3 years, was not funded, or the funding was not made aware to the high school. I guess the funding date is the end of December. So there was going to be a lag time where, in fact, the library, while the grant was approved in final stages, while the budget lines were set up, it's a Lowell Police Department grant, so we don't manage the grant, but we benefit from it. So I heard that at a meeting with administration. I attend the headmaster's meeting with his advisory group, and children were talking about how, in fact, it is a very necessary function of the high school. So I wanted to find a way for us to make sure that this continues. The Lowell Police Department, as of today, have not heard officially, but we believe this will be refunded. But I just wanted to use, it might not be past $5,000, but in fact, it will continue that half hour to 45-minute in the morning of the library being open with a library media specialist and teachers for tutoring, and after school for, I believe, an hour and a half. And finals are the 27th, I believe, and so it's a really critical time, and the children recommended it, and I think it's something that we can move some professional development things around to be able to handle.
Mr. Conway.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to the superintendent, how many tutors are there? Do we know how many in the course of a day?
Yes, there are 4 tutors in the afternoon session especially, and I believe 2 in the morning, and then the library media specialist, that's the staff. But I am going to ask the Lowell High School for some data on specifically how many students are attending, and if that need is every single day. You know, as a teacher myself, I don't think the week of Thanksgiving you need 4 tutors. I'm just guessing, but I'm going to look at the data to see how heavily staffed it is. Also, there's so many talented young people, as you know, we met several of them this evening, that can do some peer tutoring, and I'm just thinking of new ideas. So I'm going to ask the high school team to, in fact, develop a plan. There's also something that I think we have to think of as a committee. If this is such an integral part of Lowell High School, which it appears to be, it has to be placed in the local budget. And then if we're going to fund it for a year under Shannon, we won't be surprised, or if there's going to be any lag time. So items like this that are picked up by grants, because we happen to have them, but it's a core function of the high school, I think we need to make sure it's someplace on our radar screen. So I recommend for our next budget session to put that within Lowell High, and if we get the funding, beautiful, and if we don't, we better be ready if there's going to be a lag for next year, because this is an integral service academically to our youth.
Do you anticipate that the Shannon grants would be cut then? I know it's kind of difficult to tell on this. I'm just thinking, is this something that we need to plan for the future? And again, I think it might be a good idea, and I think what you've just presented tonight is some possibilities of having other means of being able to man that library, or even shifting some of the personnel, because as we know, especially towards the end of a semester, you know, that's when kids tend to gravitate to the library for additional work. And that might be the time that you fill it up for that particular 3 or 4 weeks, and maybe less during the rest of the semester. But I think the idea of having peer mentors, I think, is an excellent idea. Thank you, Madam Superintendent.
Ms. Martin?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I certainly concur with my colleagues' statements. I'd also like to just ask the question, so the actual tutoring kind of program, is it managed by the library media? Okay, so there is one individual who's responsible for the actual activity. Well, I think that's critically important. I also think that the idea of incorporating some community service from some of our really high-achieving students into this effort would be extraordinary, not only for the students who are getting tutored, but for those who get an opportunity to tutor their peers too. I think there's some real benefits, on both sides of that equation. I applaud that you were able to, having gotten this information, come up with a really speedy solution, and I'm very pleased to have seen that. But I do think that it does throw up a red flag that the idea that this would just disappear without the central administration being aware of it, without the school committee being aware of it, is troubling. So I do think that the idea of putting this in a more visible place, perhaps, will be helpful. And I think it's something we all need to remain aware of, that, the grant funds that we rely on certainly fund some fundamental tasks, but we can't look at them as extra or ancillary. Some of those tasks really are absolutely critical to the work we do every day. And I think that, being able to offer tutoring services in our library is pretty basic. For our students who may be struggling, for our students who are high achieving. I mean, this is really the place where you have every aspect of the high school should be represented in this effort. So I was extremely pleased to have gotten such a quick response so that students really weren't negatively impacted, which is the most important thing. But I think even more importantly is the plan that you've presented already and the way we're going to move forward in a way that ensures that this type of thing can't slip between the cracks again. So thank you very much.
Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, move to the number 2. Okay. Actually, we'll probably take a motion to transfer that money. Do I have a motion? Moved by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Leary. Roll call, please.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Ross-Sikowicz?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
So now moving to number 2, under reports of the superintendent. Madam Superintendent.
Yes. This next report is a listing of all the state, federal, and private grants we have to date. Until December 29th, we had received 26 grants that fund up to $23.2 million for FY12. There is a detailed list of each grant, its amount, and what it is utilized for. Some of these grants are core curriculum that we've been getting for a long period of time, and we expect every single year. I just bring your attention to one that we needed, the reason why we had to fill the kindergarten positions earlier, because we do accept kindergarten funding, and we have to make sure that there are 2 adults to every 24 children, 1-to-12 ratio, and that is a mandate. There's a full-time kindergarten teacher in every classroom, and when our numbers exceeded that, this particular fall, the committee moved to adhere to the numbers in the kindergarten. So there are many different grants. I do not know if you have any questions or concerns that you'd like to bring to my attention.
Mr. Gignac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the superintendent. I was just curious. I know that the Shannon grant is through the police department, and it's not listed on this list. I was just curious as to how much money they actually allocate towards this specific program, or how much money they actually allocate towards the public schools.
The Shannon grant, I believe it's $55,000 that's allocated to the school department. In the past, Mr. Gignac, there was more funding. This is a grant that has been cut down. We had enjoyed through the Shannon grant calls to schools and home visitation in the evening, and so over time we'd lost some of that funding. This is the portion of the funding and pays for the tutoring and some after-school calling, but not a lot. So it is one of those critical need kind of issues, and so looking at outcome-based planning for the future, looking at these grants, some of these most critical ones we have to make sure are in place. Shannon is one of them.
Any further discussion? Motion to accept as a report of progress. Motion by Mr. Conway, second by Ms. Scott. So voted. Moving on to item 3 of reports of the superintendent. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Murphy. The next report is your monthly report of all the movement in the Personnel Department. This is a report you can expect monthly that will list the retirees, resignations that occurred, or in fact any new hires or promotions. And so this will come at the beginning of every month.
Any discussion on the item? Motion to accept by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Gignac. So voted. Having no new business, we'll move to the convention conference request section of the agenda. We have an item from Michael Ducharme at the McCullough School, Assistant Principal, Edie LeBron, Interim District Coordinator of School Improvement and Accountability, Sean Karabatsos, Interim Riley School Principal, Robinson School Staff, Pina Maggio, the Morey School Staff, Patricia Myers and Patty Shepard, and Sullivan School Staff, Katie Barry and Kathy Clow. Respectfully request to attend the Effective Leadership for Academic Achievement Trainer on Thursday, January 19th through Sunday, January 22nd, 2012 in New York City, New York. The overall cost of the conference is $6,400. That will be shared among the 3 organizations, the funding source being the Lowell Public School District, Professional Development, $2,800, United Teachers of Lowell, $2,800, Lowell School Administration Association, $800. Specifically, the cost of the institute is $800 per person, which includes travel, tuition, travel, lodging, and meals. The school department professional development funds also pay for 4 substitute teachers for 2 days, not to exceed $800. Together, this body will become part of the training team for our professional workforce. Motion to approve by Mr. Leary, seconded by Ms. Ross-Sitwich. Roll call, please.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Ross-Sikowicz?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Moving on to communications, and just an informational item that the Lowell Telecommunication Channel 10 broadcast of the school committee meetings will be live on the first and third Wednesdays of each month, Thursdays at 9 p.m., Sundays at 2 p.m., and if you haven't had enough, Tuesdays at 10 a.m. So we'll move on to entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn by Mr. Leary, seconded by Ms. Ross-Sitwich. We stand adjourned.